Hello, America. Dave Hodges here. I am the host of the Common Sense Show, where the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. Thank you so much for joining us. Really good to be with you. We have an interesting dilemma. President Trump came out and promoted something called medbeds. And to be honest with you, I'm totally unfamiliar with it, but it later was linked in subsequent stories to frequency-based intervention in health. I'm not here to either endorse or debunk. I'm simply going to present what is and ask a few questions. This is going to be probably one of the most mind-blowing presentations we've ever made. But as I said, if you're looking for me to lead you to a conclusion of false hope that we have the cure-all for everything, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're looking for some debunking that's done officially, question why President Trump did what he did, and then finally come back at you with what we know about frequency interventions, and then say, you decide where this is going. And I've hesitated. I mean, Trump came out with this on September 25th. It's been a while. I sat on this because I thought, I don't want to look at it. But then I started asking myself some questions. I'm going to ask the same questions here, and then I want you to tell me by sending comments what you think, what you're wondering about. What else would you like me to investigate on this topic? Anyway, we're brought to you by the great products at Magic Dicol, the Nanosoma Starter Pack. Absolutely fantastic. 15% off the retail price. Absolutely love this product. It saved my life, the Nanosoma liquid spray. It's all natural. You can use as much as you want. Maintenance dose is thought to be about 5 sprays once a day. And it got me through some really debilitating health issues with a very negative prognosis. And then when I was working out in the gym and regaining my former self, and then actually surpassing my former self, the joint inflammation crept up and the topical gel entered in. That's the second part of this 3 pack. And today I have no issues because it grows pluripotent stem cells. Then, of course, there's a skin cream for fine lines and wrinkles. I used it for the massive cut that probably needed 4 to 6 stitches on my index finger of my left hand. And you saw the bandages. Completely cured today. Completely healthy. It's absolutely incredible what this has done. How do you get yours? Get 15% off? You go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Let me review what happened with President Trump. I'm not going to show you the video because I don't want to be accused of, shall we say, encouraging medical disinformation. And I'm just baffled by this topic, but we're going to be as factual as we can here. President Trump came on Truth Social, and they claim it was AI generated. I couldn't tell, but that's why AI generated is really good. And he said on his own platform, we're going to be releasing medbed technology. It regenerates limbs, cures diseases, blah, blah, all that stuff. Okay. So that was on Truth Social for 2 days. Then it was removed. So I decided to do a little bit of a dive into the AI and see what they could tell me. And I found 2 different versions. The first is this. September 2025, Donald Trump posted and then deleted an AI-generated video on Truth Social promoting medbeds, a quote, non-existent healing technology central to a QAnon conspiracy theory. And by the way, for the record, I debunk QAnon at every step. What the deleted post claimed was the video was created to look like a news segment on Fox News hosted by AI-generated version of Laura Trump. But what the debunking, and I'll show you another debunker in a second, they still don't answer these 3 questions. Why did not President Trump come out and disavow the post, or his press secretary, or someone related to Truth Social? Why didn't that happen? How does that get up there and stay up there for 48 hours without Trump's complicit approval? Good question, isn't it? Number two, why didn't Fox discredit the post and condemn the alleged disinformation? And I think there's some copyright claims there that could have been followed. Why hasn't this been done? And I've waited long enough here that we should have seen some of the back and forth on PR. We haven't seen any of it. Why didn't Laura Trump chastise the misuse of her image and alleged statements? None of that's happened, and the AI posts don't deal with that. And I'm not saying the AI posts are wrong. I'm just saying I'd like to see that challenged on that level. So I'm putting those challenges out there. Here's another AI overview. Medbeds are not a real medical technology, but a fictional cure-all that generated in QAnon and other, here's your catch terms, far-right conspiracy theory communities. The stories surrounding them are entirely unsubstantiated. Well, let me just say this. If they're secretive, if they're protected by national security, of course they'd be unsubstantiated. We used microwave technology in a number of ways, including weaponizing it about 35, 40 years before the general public got to use it for microwave ovens. That's just one example. The internet was held secret for over 30 years because it was a secret communication alternative in case of a nuclear attack developed by the Army Intel. That's called technological lag. It's actually an expression used in modern sociology. So I don't think the fact that it's unsubstantiated would be surprising. If it was classified, you'd have no way of substantiating it. So that doesn't automatically debunk it. The concept has been debunked by journalists. Same claim. If it's classified, how would you know? Medical experts. Yeah, well, I think your average doctor would look at this and say it's nonsense. I did. Regenerate limbs. That's what they're claiming. You can regenerate limb growth, restore organs. Now, the restore the organs isn't quite as shocking to me, but regenerate limbs? Are we amphibians? No, 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 no. I'm not going to go down that road with the reptile lizard people, but I think that was a nonsense story. I think this is absolutely ludicrous and it makes no sense. That was my initial reaction. I'm still probably leaning in that direction. Here's what the medbed, according to AI conspiracy, claims. Do you notice I always put the word conspiracy in some of these things? The word's been very misused. And let me digress just for a minute. If you promote anything that two bad people would conspire together to do something illegal, well, that's a conspiracy theory, as if no one would ever do that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, they go on to say it's secret technology the US military developed for a deep state that is secretly in possession of advanced technology known as medbeds, which can cure all diseases, reverse aging, and regrow limbs instantly. Okay, if that's really the case, wouldn't Rockefeller and Kissinger and these people um, live infinitely? Well, they both died at about 100. I think Rockefeller was 103 and Kissinger was 100. Okay, so I have a hard time buying into the fact that the med beds would basically reverse aging. They're of alien origin. I laughed out loud when I read this. Some versions of the theory claim the technology is not human, but of alien origin. Okay, I think that's a silly explanation for this. Withheld from the public. This is the part that I challenge. Proponents believe that the wealthy elites in the pharmaceutical industry are deliberately withholding this technology to maintain power and profit from the existing healthcare system. On the surface, that could make some sense because if this modern technology came out and was a cure-all for many things, big pharma would start to go broke in certain segments. That's not far-fetched if it's true. And see, the key phrase is if it's true. But the fact is that technology would never be withheld, is what's being implied here. That's BS. It's withheld all the time. and it has been throughout our modern history. That doesn't mean this technology exists by any means, but to explain it away on this basis, I don't buy into that. Imminent release. Conspiracy theorists often promise that medbeds will be made available to the public soon, sometimes claiming it'll be during a major political event or the storm. I don't know what they're referring to there with the storm. Um, I don't buy the imminent release. Here's how the stories are spread according to AI. Medbed stories are spread rapidly through social media platforms like Telegram, TikTok, and True Social. They left out some of them, didn't they? AI generated content, late September 25, AI generated video designed to look like Fox News, Donald Trump, da 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 da, da 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 da, but it was deleted, but not before being amplified by believers. My biggest question is, how did this stay up on True Social without the approval of Trump and or the people in charge of True Social? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that we have an answer. Appealing to desperation, experts note that the conspiracy gains traction by offering false hope to those suffering from chronic illnesses or facing desperate medical situations. It could lead to a placebo effect. I hear what they're saying there, and I don't totally disagree. Influencer promotion, QAnon influencers, which I am not one, have played a significant role in promoting the medbed myth. To be honest with you, I was totally ignorant of this until this latest deal with Trump in September appeared. I didn't know what a medbed was, never heard of it. Um, we're contributing, supposedly, influencers to the spread within their communities. Harms and scams associated with medbed stories. Now, some of this I agree with AI. Medical misinformation, promoting a fictional cure-all is a dangerous form of medical information. I think it could stretch the imagination, ask questions about what could be possible, and that's the wellspring for experimentation and invention. So I don't totally disagree. I don't totally agree here with this. There's an element I will agree with, and you'll see. Expert warns that believers may forego legitimate science-based medical care while waiting for med beds to be released. I agree with that 100%. No one should ever bypass their doctor for a 2 minute, de- supposedly debunked or and deleted video. Get treated by your doctor. So I do agree with the false hope in foregoing medical treatment. No one should do that because this is not proven. Okay. Financial scams. Con artists have capitalized on the stories by selling devices access to medbed centers that claim to use pseudoscientific methods worth thousands of dollars. Okay, that's fraud. They'll go to jail for that. Uh, I think AI is going down a blind alley here. This is absolute fraud. And we get fraud that's medical all the time. And you just deal with it by investigating and then indicting if necessary. Preying on the vulnerable. Scammers particularly target desperate people and vulnerable groups with false promises of miracle cures. That's part of the scam. The truth about medveds, lack of evidence. There's zero credible scientific evidence for the existence of medbeds as described by the conspiracy. Well, I did a little deep dive in this and I read people like Michael Salla and stuff like this. And they said it's frequency based. Now, because of what I'm going to share with you about frequency based does not mean I endorse medbeds. I put a question mark over it. I don't know. I would lean towards with limb regeneration. It's probably not true. Some other things, well, I'm more open minded, and I'll tell you why. Dr. Sherry Edwards, she can play and listen to and analyze the frequencies. It's all computer generated now by Sherry, it's AI. And she can tell what you've had in your past for illness, even if the symptoms are no longer present. Hello, that would be yours truly, Dave Hodges. She did an analysis of me and things that I had before school age that went away. She said, you had this. She was right, or her equipment was correct. And Sherry's not promoting treatments per se, but she can analyze mood states, telling the truth, potential illnesses. And as I said, in my case, the anecdotal, not research based statements would be she was pretty darn accurate. And a lot of people say that too. And also, too, she's had big corporate and banking interference with her bank account. She's had big pharma try to buy her out, and she refused, and there were some consequences, some controversy. Um, Frequency research right now is really huge, but I've seen it as a coach for years. This has been around for decades. When you do stem treatment of ankle injuries, knee injuries, and things like this, designed to regenerate and speed the growth of healing cells, I've seen it. It's part of athletic intervention. It's not new. In fact, actually, it's gotten quite sophisticated. So, frequency based intervention is an area of interest to medical science. How far it's gone, well, it depends about the research, which really is not very good. Okay. Quantum technology, they use these terms. Frequencies. Well, okay, the debunking is inaccurate here. I don't know about the biophotons, but the frequencies, it's a subject of research and it's not been totally debunked, but I would say not totally endorsed. Quantum technology, no basis in real world application. Well, I would argue that the frequency part of it with stem treatment, athletic injuries, goes and flies in the face of that statement. But generally, I agree with the statement. Contrast with real technology. While real world smart beds exist that use sensors for robotics for patient monitoring, they are not the miraculous cure all. Good distinction there by AI. I agree. You can have good diagnostics with this technology using frequency analysis, but you won't necessarily have a cure for anything. Okay. But I'm telling you, my association with Dr. Sherry Edwards has kept my mind open to these possibilities, but being open and saying, what does the future hold? Let's go back in time. The time is the late 60s, and I'm talking about William Shatner, Gene Roddenberry, and the original Star Trek series, the tricorder. It was both a diagnostic using frequencies and a healing device using frequencies. But it too, in the show, had limitations. My feeling on this is quite clear. Although I think frequency intervention, there is a basis of truth. How extensive and far reaching it is, I think, is yet to be decided. But I do know medical researchers are showing interest, and there are some promising studies, but that doesn't mean you can regrow limbs. And people claim that, well, I've got insiders that say it. Okay, but until you can actually get quantifiable proof with replicable research, all you have is a rumor. Do I hope this happens someday? Oh, I think we'd all love to have this happen. I think the life extension possibilities using our imagination are incalculable in terms of value. But is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. And the next time I have something that needs intervention, I'm going. By the way, I talk about, and I did earlier, the nanosoma products. I'm telling you, from my perspective, this saved my life. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs before I started taking the spray. And I was told, Dave, those strip lung linings from RSV are not coming back. That came from specialists. Well, today I'm healthy as a horse, doing things I haven't done in 25 years, but it's not frequency based. This is biochemical, which is more traditional. And it could be placebo effect. I can't rule it out because there hasn't been a detailed study done on me. Although there are 33 research studies about the nanosoma product. Some people say, there's no research. That's not true. We have published these in the past. We've referred to some of them. In fact, actually, Sarah Westall and I had a really interesting conversation about this 6, 7, 8 months ago. And Sarah was saying, Dave, is there any research about this? And I said, I know of a little, but I went to my friend, Sean McDonald, who's an official with the Magic Dicall people. And he says, yeah, Dave. And he sent me a whole list. I thought, well, okay, this is pretty impressive. This is what we need with this story with frequency based. When you have 33 research studies and you reach a level of significance where it says P equals less than 0.05, then you got good study, you got a good principle, and you've established the probabilities that this could work. But until that happens, we don't have that. And I know what some of you are going to say, but Dave, it could be classified. We won't ever have that. I agree. I agree. That's how classification works. And how much has been kept from the public? I don't know. And then we have the placebo effect, but we also have the nocebo effect. I covered this yesterday. The triangle, the evil triangle of unhealthy behavior in consumption and diet and lifestyle that leads to obesity and early death. And started with the cigarette company, spread to food, preservatives, spread dye number two. Then it spread to big pharma because we get lifetime customers. I completely endorse this as where it came from. However, doesn't say a thing about med beds. But the nagging thing that stays with me, why would the Trump people let that stay up for 48 hours? Knowing that he's going to get criticized. Oh, he has. USA Today, CNN, they've all jumped on this. Non-existent technology. The president's promoting non-existent technology. And it's been used as a negative pejorative against him. I'm shocked that there's not been something from the White House on this topic. And that leads to a lot of possibilities, but I don't want to get into conjecture here, but there's a reason why this was up there. Could he have just been playing games with people? You know, he has a sense of humor. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I'm looking forward to reading your comments on this. For right now, I ain't holding my breath. I might find some solace in the nanosoma products, but basically speaking, when I have something wrong with me, I'm going to be calling my doctor, who, by the way, I wish Dr. Ernie good luck. I heard he got thrown from his horse, broke his arm and 4 ribs. So we wish and pray for quick healing on that. And also, speaking on the prayer note, say a prayer for Sarah Westall. She's her family's going through some significant health concerns, and I don't want to be too specific here, but pray for Sarah and her family as well. Anyway, I thought you'd find this interesting. You got to remember, imagination is the first step towards innovation and invention. But I do agree with the admonition that don't let this become the reason that you don't seek medical treatment. I'm Dave Hodges. This is the Common Sense Show. This is the kind of thing that we do a lot of over on our TV show, the Common Sense Show.tv. This is part of the HIP series. Thought you'd enjoy it.